Hello class. So today we are going to be learning about writing. So to help us with today's lesson, I have printed out an article from today's newspaper which talks about US officials believing that there are Chinese hackers trying to get into the US network system. So I would like each and every one of you to come and get a piece of paper of the script of the text, so it helps us and guides us as we learn about writing. Okay, everybody has had their script? Perfect. So now I want us to talk about writing. Writing has to do with introduction, the body, and the conclusion. That is basically the structure of a text. Every text has to have an introduction. So basically what the introduction is it's an extension of, it's a representation of the topic. So our topic says, US officials believe Chinese hackers may still have access to US computer networks. So our introduction has to tell us more about what the rest of the text is going to be talking about. So it's basically the topic, but as a little bit more words, just to give our minds an idea of what is going to follow in the paragraphs below. Okay, moving along, we have the body. So the body is considered a very, very important part of a text. This is where we get most of the details, most of the ideas are now more details, more information, so we will understand better what the text is talking about. Here, every paragraph has a topic sentence. I'm going to take an example with the first paragraph on our papers. It reads, a vast U.S. electronic agency with a foreign mission used its intelligence to study hackers' tools. So as you can hear that topic sentence, it's now telling us that a U.S. electronic agency was used, right? So the rest of the paragraph is going to tell us how this electronic agency was used to find out the hackers' tools. So now we are going to get more information about these Chinese hackers. So basically that's what the body is about. It gives us more information about what was talked about in the topic. Okay. And then in the conclusion basically gives a summary of what was being said. And then you always have to finish off with a strong statement that will leave the reader wanting more. Let's quickly go down to our conclusion, which reads, we agree with Microsoft assessment and are currently formulating a plan to deal with this issue. Now, as we've seen that this whole text has been talking about how they are Chinese hackers trying to get into the US system, and how the US system has found out this information. So now what we are getting from this conclusion is that they definitely agree. It's no more a speculation that there could be hackers, there couldn't be hackers, but they are sure now that there are hackers, as they agree with Microsoft. And the strong statement that they are finishing this whole text with, this whole article with, is the fact that they are formulating a plan to deal with this issue. Now, as the reader, of course, I would like an update now, next week for sure, about what exactly did the US do to find out, to fix the problem of the Chinese hackers. So that is the conclusion of our article. It is now concluding with the fact that they are definitely in agreement with Microsoft, and they are going to try and fix the problem of the Chinese hackers. Okay, so moving along, I'm now going to talk about the different stages of writing. So the first stage is the planning stage. In everything that you do, you have to plan. So it is important for you to plan and think about how you want your text to look like. The author of this article, Luis, planned his article. He had to gather his facts because, as we can see, this is a factual article. It's not based on any here says. So Louis definitely planned what he wanted his final product to look like. He did his research, which is important, and you definitely have to brainstorm and think of how you will organize your ideas, because you cannot put the conclusion that we read here at the beginning, because we will be confused. What did Microsoft find out? What plan are they talking about? What problem do they have? So it is important to write the right information where it belongs. So the second stage is the drafting stage. When writing, you do not immediately jump into the process of writing. You need to give yourself time to express yourself freely. So the drafting stage, that is the part where you write your ideas. We are not concerned about being correct here. We are not concerned about punctuation. We are not concerned about spelling mistakes. Here, you are simply just expressing yourself and expanding the ideas that you had in the planning stage. Okay, then in the revision stage, this is where you now look at your draft and say, okay, this is what I wrote. And then now this is where you start seeing your spelling mistakes and you're like, oh, okay, so I missed this. This means you're looking over what you have written just to see, does it still go with what I had planned? Is this what I had planned to write? And then if that's not what you had planned to write, you move on to the next stage of the editing stage. That is where now you make those corrections. It is important not to do the drafting stage on your exercise book, because you'll find yourself cancelling and making your work not so neat. So you can do this on a spare piece of paper on the side before transferring the final product onto your textbook, onto your main exercise book. So in the editing stage, that is where you've now seen your spelling mistakes, your grammatical mistakes. That is where you are correcting them. And then in the proofreading stage, that is when you actually reread what you were writing. And since you've edited your work, right? Now you are proofreading your corrected work just to make sure that you did not miss anything. Okay. So I hope you guys have understood what we were talking about today. And I would like you to take another 5 minutes of your time just to go through the article and see if Louis did all of these stages and see if there were any mistakes. I highly doubt it. When I read it, there weren't any mistakes. So I hope that you will use this text as a reference when writing your own text, which is what we are going to be doing now. The next exercise is for you to write your own text that you want me to read. So in the text, you are going to be telling me something about current news. We remember I used an article that is current about US officials believing that there may be Chinese hackers. I got it from the newspaper. So I also want you as well to think of something that is affecting you. It may be here at school or it may be in the whole of Taiwan. But I just want you to think of something that you are going to write about. And then you observe the structure. Make sure you have an introduction, a body, a conclusion, and then you observe the different structures, because what is important in writing, it's not the final product, but it is the whole process of writing. So I will be working side by side, helping you guys mark. I will be walking to your tables, helping you guys mark your work so that we correct each part of your work. So I want you to start with the introduction and then I mark it. And then if I give you a go ahead, you can continue to the body and then you can continue to the conclusion. So remember, you do not move to the second part or the third part of your text without me marking the first part. Okay, all right.